Rolling Hills Gin here. It's very loud. That's what the cool headset's for. It looks like I'm in an airplane, but it allows me to talk and hear y'all in the gin. Um, I'm Andrew's family is my family. Andrew's my first cousin, so we are very close. And so we're ginning cotton today. We're not ginning Andrew's cotton today, but we are ginning regular modules, is what we call this. Um, so the cotton was going to come into us either in the shape here with this big rectangle that you see back here in the back, or a John Deere picker that you see on a lot of the videos with the 10,000 pound project. You'll see in a round bale wrapped in yellow plastic. When we unwrap those yellow bales, you'll see this baler here. We recycle all those yellow wraps that come off of that. These have a tarp on them that we reuse, so we keep recycling those back out. So we'll uncover it, either unwrap it here in this machine back here, or the regular modules come in. And basically we go in here, and this first machine just kind of chews the cotton up, throws it on a conveyor belt. Then we have like a 100 horsepower vacuum cleaner basically that picks the cotton up, drops it over here into the feed control. It's kind of where we get started in this box here. Feeds onto there, goes through a dryer, and then back to a set of cleaners. Now, when I say dryer, this little box back here, basically cotton has to come to us fairly dry. Cotton's going in the top. 5 seconds later, it's coming out the bottom. So we don't have time to dry like a pair of blue jeans kind of dry. But we do take a little moisture out to be able to gin the cotton and clean it up a little bit better. Goes to another stack of machines in the back, a stick machine and an incline cleaner that will clean out a lot of the bigger pieces of trash. It'll bring it up to some cleaners up above me. And basically then we're trying to get out smaller pieces of trash. So you can see here, the machines above us right here are taking out leaf trash. So it's just a lot of broken pieces of leaves and stuff, a little bit of cotton in there with it, but a lot of broken leaves and sticks and stems there that are coming through there. So then it'll bring a conveyor above our heads here and bring it and drop it into our gin stands. Got them back to going now. So basically, it's coming and dropping it into this gin stand, and then this one, it keeps them both full. This is another cleaner right here. It's feeding the cotton in at a certain rate. This is the cleaned and dried cotton. So basically, when the cotton gets to here, it's got a lot of it's still not cotton balls, but we got a lot of the stuff out of here. But the seeds are still in it. So if you can feel the seeds are actually still inside the cotton. So if you actually take cotton, basically, if you look at the cotton is basically almost like hair that's growing on a seed. So basically what we're doing is separating seed from fiber. That's our job, is to do that right there. But one person can only do about 2 pounds of cotton in an entire day doing what I just did. So if y'all can remember way back to, I think it's about 4th grade, a man by the name of Eli Whitney, that a lot of people had heard of, invented the cotton gin. And it is very similar to what we're doing right here. Right behind this, you can kind of see a waterfall. You can see some cotton going around. Right in behind here, there's saws. Our gin stand is a 198, has 198 saws across here that are actually grabbing this fiber, the cotton, and pulling it through a narrow rib with some saws. So the seeds are actually separated. And Courtney, if you can show them right there next to the floor, that's the seeds coming out. It looks like it's raining. So that's cottonseed. That's how fast this is separating out the seeds. Now there's a 200 horsepower electric motor on just this machine. We have a little over 2,000 horsepower connected in the whole plant, but that machine there has a 200 horsepower and then another one on here. So this is where most of the work is being done. So the seeds that are falling out from under there, they're getting blown out to a building next door, and we sell cottonseed. It's referred to as whole fuzzy cottonseed. And basically, I'll grab a little bit here and show you. The cotton seeds are actually black. If you can scratch all the fuzz off of them, you can see that they're actually black. but it doesn't look like a very appetizing meal. But for a dairy cow, that's a handful of M&Ms. Okay, high energy, high protein. It's really good feed for a dairy cow. So a lot of ours ends up going to dairies. We're kind of north as far as cotton gins goes, so it actually goes all the way up to Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, only up possibly up into Wisconsin. Is kind of where our seed usually goes, just because we're on the I-77 corridor, kind of headed north. Um, so we're just a little bit local. Beef cows eat just a little bit, but it's kind of a little pricey for beef cows. So mostly it's for dairy cows. They feed about 3 or 4 pounds per cow per day. Helps with butter, fat, and a lot of other things. So that's kind of one of our products, but of course cotton is the main product. So after the cotton goes out of the back of here, it'll go to 2 more machines called lint cleaners. And basically, now that we've got just the cotton, it'll clean up just the fiber itself. So it's going to go out the back of there. Then the cotton's going to get carried all the way up next to the ceiling here. And it's kind of hard to see probably on the camera, but that's kind of inclined board. That's kind of a sliding board. So that cotton will slide down into the bale press. And if you can see right over there where there's a catwalk, little red handles there, there's a cylinder over there going up and down. So it's pressing cotton and putting it into the far box. We just emptied this box, but so it presses that cotton into that far box, and then once it says there's 500 pounds in there, it'll actually jump up an inch and it'll spin that entire press and sit back down. So it takes the empty box around to the other side, and the full box will come over here to this side. So take about another minute before that's going to happen again there, I think. So we'll go ahead and talk about, this is our finished product here. We don't get it as clean as cotton balls, but you can kind of tell it's soft. There's no seeds or anything, so it's just cotton. So that will be what we bale up and send on to the mill. Now what he's doing here is he's taking a sample off of each and every bale. All right, bale press is going to turn. So it's going to jump up, turn half a turn. So this box coming towards us is full. The one swinging down the other side is empty. So when it latches in, the big ram's going to come down and press the cotton kind of into the shape of the bale. Once it gets to a certain amount of force, it'll stop. There's 2 cylinders. It'll strip the box. It'll actually pick the box up. You'll be able to see the bale of cotton in there. It'll come down and press it down a few more inches to get it to just the right height. And this yellow strapper will go in and put 6 plastic straps on it. As soon as they're applied, the gate comes out of the way. There's a little cart on a set of railroad tracks that'll come across. When the bale gets done welding the straps, it'll kick it out onto the cart. All right, cart sees the bale, it backs up. So all that's completely automated. If you can see Anastasio here, he's not mashing any buttons or doing anything. He's just kind of watching what's happening. Goes in and grabs that sample off of each side, and it's going to push that bale into a bagger. And we're going to put a clear folding bag around, actually forms the bag as it's being, as it goes to the machine. And the samples will get dropped onto his table over here. And the bag is being sealed on the far end down there. It's kind of hard to see down that far. And then there's a labeler that'll actually put a numeric barcoded label. It's kind of a serial number for that particular bale. The bale will get weighed. This particular bale here was 491 pounds, the one we just finished. See the list of bales there, and we check to make sure the labels are the same. And then he'll take this, and he'll put a sample card with it, and we'll send this sample to USDA to get graded. They grade it for length, strength, color, density, and uniformity. So it gets graded on about 5 or 6 different properties, and then the farmer will get paid for that, whether it meets the grade, possibly a little above, definitely get docked if it doesn't meet the grade. And then there's a whole science involved in the next step of a particular color and fineness and leaf content or whatnot to make a t-shirt or to make a dress shirt or to make a towel or blue jeans. and every cotton, I reckon end product that you use might have a little bit different needs as far as the fiber goes to start with. So hopefully that's something y'all learn as you go through this process, is kind of how it all works all the way through. We're just we're kind of the next step after the farmer. We're kind of the back end of the cotton picker. If they could figure out how to do this, on Andrew's picker and put bales out and haul them to the warehouse, we wouldn't be here. But this is kind of a necessary next step in the process here. So we can try to walk out here on the porch and show you maybe the bales here. Kind of got a lot going on here. We changed the machine out. Even everything that we save up, all the sticks and stems and everything, even get baled up, and we actually sell that. And they'll use that for bedding or cow feed or something. So all the little sticks and stems and burrs even. All right, but this is our finished product. 500-pound bale, bar-coded, strapped in a plastic bag. Now this will go to the warehouse. Will be the next place, and once we get the grades back, we'll be able to sort through at the warehouse and get I think maybe 10,000. I tried, or maybe if we got the right bales picked out, maybe 10,243 pounds of cotton that we're going to have for this project, I think. But we're gonna this will be what goes to the warehouse. So this is kind of our finished product. Like I said, we recycle the plastic that comes in on the wraps and recycle all the trash that comes out of the back. So everything has a home. So when we bring it in, everything has a home, and at the end of the year we have it. Everything has a place to go. So Eric, if you can take it over from here, I'll send it back up to you, and we'll try to come meet you up in the office then.
Thank you, Wes. Rosalinda, if you'll put Wes on mute, and then I'll just chat for a few seconds when he comes up here to World Headquarters.
Yeah. I love the ginning process. I never get tired of seeing it. So amazing.
Well, the thing too, Rosalinda, is probably one of the most sophisticated gins in the world, and having the opportunity to know Wes for over a dozen years, and every year it gets better and better. And that's what's just so exciting about what we're doing. We have the ability to do it all here in the U.S. And that's part of our vision to do domestic apparel manufacturing in a transparent and equitable supply chain. And the best way to do that is let you know the people behind it and not just see the finished product and try to make that some beautiful looking thing, which it is, but who are the people behind it? Because we believe, especially post-COVID, apparel brands should be based upon the people that make the product, not chasing some price to go in a big box store, or not an illusion of a brand to be some kind of lifestyle, but about the people that make it. And it's so exciting to be working with this group. As I said, we started Cotton and Carolinas over a dozen years ago, and pretty much the same players are still there. I'm working with Andrew, Ronnie's son, the third generation cotton farmer. But it's what's so cool too, Rosalinda. I mean, all this is within 60 miles from TS Designs.
Right.
So
also like, Eric, is the sort of analogy that you used about sort of that farm to table concept, and really being able to apply that to the manufacturing process, really helping the consumers understand what is truly involved in making their clothes. So
okay, Rosalinda, we're up here in Rollins Gym World Headquarters. And so I got Wes up here. So this is kind of time to kick it back. And for those people who want to do the deep dive and have questions about the tour or wherever we want to go with this, this is the time to put Wes on the hot seat. Yeah. You got people all over the country, maybe a few all over the world that want to ask you some questions. So Rosalinda's going to be our moderator. There's some people posting some chats. So I'm going to kick it back to you, Rosalinda, and I'll be in the background working with Wes.
Yay, awesome. So Wes, before we do have some questions here in the chat. I feel like there's been some positive response to seeing the ginning process, but is there anything that you wanted to say to everybody before we kind of dive into the questions?
Well, no, I'm just glad we can be part of the project and kind of see where some of what we do ends up. You know, we move a lot of material through here in a day, and it goes, you know, here, there, and yonder. But the sad part is when we started doing this about 25 years ago, you know, we were sending it as local as Albemarle, 8 miles down the road, and they were making stuff, you know, right here in Stanley County where we're from. And now probably over half of ours and over 3/4 of what the U.S. actually grows actually is sent overseas to be manufactured, and then we bring that plus another 50% back for actually what our needs are. So nice to see that some of it's going to stay here locally.
Wow, that's crazy. So I'm curious too, just to hear from the participants, how many of you guys are sort of experiencing the ginning process for the first time, maybe using your either reactions to kind of give a thumbs up or responding in the chat. So we are going to go to our first question, which is, does West and Rolling Hills Gin apply DNA trackers to their cotton? When would this be applied?
No, we do not. Actually, I don't know a ton about that technology, but I was actually in a few seminars last year, actually, 19. I was actually a national gender president, was able to go to several of the regional meetings. And now they were experimenting with putting some stuff in cotton to be able to trace it. I think that technology actually is past now. They can actually take samples from cotton grown in different areas down to, I think, maybe the county level or even further, and tell where it came from just by the environment. I think is kind of where they're headed with some of that technology now. But no, we do not have anything like that traceability here. The value that would bring usually would go into in the U.S. would be in the Pima cotton. Supima, I think, is a big player in that, kind of a group that does that, and they're very particular about their brand and their products. So they're actually on the forefront of a lot of that kind of stuff. But that cotton costs about double what we call upland cotton that the rest of the country grows. So there has to be a lot of value added for that to be able to play. So the average cotton in the whole United States, that doesn't happen.
But Wes, I have a follow-up question on that, because a good point is, we struck a deal back in May with Andrew to buy some of his cotton. And obviously you gin for a lot of other fields around here and things like that. So kind of talk to them how you were pointing out at the very end there were some bales that we've already identified that now is going to eventually be going to Spun Lab. How do you know that that's the cotton?
Yeah, we didn't get into that out there just because they weren't unwrapping when I reckon I didn't think of it. But every one of those loads or truckloads that come in, whether it's the rounds or the big rectangles, every one of those has a load ticket or a module ticket that the farmer actually fills out. So he will fill out his name, the farm number, the field, a lot of times the variety, all that information, and we have that in a database. So as those barcoded bales are coming out of the end of the process, they're all being applied back to the module that we ginned during that time that bale was coming out. So we can trace that bale back to that module, then we can trace that module back to the farmer, field, and variety that it actually came out of. And that is not new technology. We have been doing that for 25 years. And that's just part of the record keeping of the grower and the farmer that the gin actually does. That's all computerized now, so it's a lot easier than it used to be. But yeah, we can trace. You can, find that bale of cotton, whether it be at Spun Labs, hopefully with Andrew's cotton, or you can find a bale of Rolling Hills gin cotton in, Uzbekistan, Turkey, China, wherever. Get that number and call me, and I can tell you what field it was grown in.
So that's why it's important to us, Wes, is that with this barcode system, you're able to not only identify that cotton when it comes in from the field that was Andrew's, track it through your system, And when it goes out to that bale, that way you know this is the cotton.
Exactly.
And so then when it's handed off to Spun Lab, so that way we can keep that transparency back to the field.
Right.
In a simpler way, not a DNA marking, but there's a tracking system that can validate, that where that cotton came from.
Right.
Thank you.
That's great. So I know that you said that technology isn't new. It's been around for about 25 years, but Beth Stewart from Redress Raleigh, who was lucky enough to get a harvest tour back in 2013, she was curious to hear, has anything changed in the process or with machinery since then?
Last night at 1 a.m., yes. So I might look not as pretty as normal, but yes, we're always changing and doing something. Some gins do, some gins don't, but we're always trying to make things easier, make things better, keep things more modern. The gin, when you buy a car and you drive it for 25 years, it's probably not in that great a shape, but Rolling Hills Gin is in better shape today than it was when it was built. We try to make sure that because, we hopefully have another generation coming and keep on going kind of thing. So yeah, we actually just changed our trash press last night. And it is not a smooth transition. Trust me, we've been working on it all morning. But that's really the only thing, and just to try to modernize that a little bit and make the jobs easier. I've done every job out there. I was tying trash bales this morning. So we try to make the jobs easier. We've got 4 guys that come help us every year. And, we're asking them to work 12, 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So if you saw Anastasio there putting that sample in the bag, he's putting that sample in the bag and watching what's going on. Not very labor intensive, not hard. It's steady. You don't get a lot of breaks very long or whatnot, but it's not a hard job. So we try to. We did have some hard jobs 25 years ago, so we try to keep working on that automation, strapping, that green strap, automatic bagger that bags it, those kind of things. So we're always kind of changing things. The interesting thing is the ginning process itself, the actual seed and fiber separation is really not a whole lot of difference than Eli Whitney did 200 years ago. So yeah, that's probably my
Okay.
So the nuts and bolts of the ginning process, the actual process itself really hasn't changed. But yeah, we're constantly updating things here.
I was like, is that a lamp swinging in the background? I don't think I've heard one of those in years.
But I want to go back to what Wes was saying there. He's very, very humble because, as I said, I've been into a lot of ginning operations. And one thing I'll say, every year, Wes is always bringing new innovation to the table. And I think now has brought on 3D printers to actually make some of the parts here. And I don't know if consulting is the right word, but you are working with other gins, is it fair to say, around the world, to help, again, improve. And again, I like Wes to not only improve the efficiency, but he cares about the work environment of employees. As he said right there, he's not, what can I do to make this job easier for them personally? And, but again, having the opportunity to know Wes for over probably 12 years, every year it's different. And I think one thing we ought to be important, people will be interested in knowing, Wes, this is not an operation that runs like a normal manufacturing business like ours, which we run, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, something like that. You have certain seasons, but kind of talk about what happens in the gin season.
Typical season for us is basically October the 1st till Christmas. It's kind of what we shoot for. So we spend the rest of the year doing all those changes, making things, trying to make things better. But then we're really concerned, when we start ginning. This year was actually November the 9th. Not a great year, but when we start ginning, we want to try to make sure we don't have any downtime because we're trying to get things processed. Cotton is a natural product, so therefore, as you saw it a little bit ago in that barcoded clear plastic bag sitting on a dock in a building with a sprinkler system, it has a pretty good shelf life of a few years. But sitting out in the rain, in a module, in the field, in the mud is not the very best. So we try to get that out of the field, get it here, get it processed so that it has a better, just a better place to be, I reckon, and give it that shelf life. The other thing is you have to consider on the side of Andrew. Andrew more than likely borrowed money back in April or May to plant this crop. He cannot sell his crop till he harvests. I finish ginning, it gets graded, and then it gets sold. So I'm the last thing standing between all the farmers and their check, right? So they're looking to me to, when they get it done in the field, they call me, come get my cotton and gin it. So they're looking for me to not take that much time to do that. It's usually a few weeks in there for a couple of 3 weeks for that to happen. But so we're trying to really busy doing that. So it's really hectic season for 3 months. But then the good thing is if we live through that, then hopefully with the next 9 months are a little bit easier. Still a lot of stuff going on, but it is a easier pace for us.
But having the opportunity to come here many, many times and working with Wes, if you were here, Rosalinda, with us, you would hear this like a low rumble, a very consistent sound that's below us. And working with Wes, and now he's got everything tied to his phone, so it's super smartphone. But watching Wes at the many tours, he's fine right now because he knows things are running very smooth because he's got that kind of. But if all of a sudden it starts getting quiet, you can watch Wes. As the seconds tick off, he becomes a little bit more involved, and now your son's in the business. But there's been meetings where after a minute or so, Wes said, "Wait a minute, I go get a check on something." He'll go away because it's an obvious noise difference between this what we hear right now and when you have that silence. And in silence, the whole and again, it's a what I want to say, it's a whole not supply chain, but one thing stops, everything gets back up or whatever.
One link in the chain of the gin that's broken. Every machine depends on the one before
Right.
the one after. So
it all comes to screeching halt.
So it looks like we do have a couple of first timers here who are experiencing the ginning process. One who's experiencing it for the second time, but actually this time was able to hear more about the ginning process. I know it's a very loud operation, but we do have a question regarding the grading process. So Colleen Kelly is asking if every single bale of cotton is graded by the USDA.
Every single bale of cotton in the United States is graded by the USDA as a rule. 99.5% probably or something. But every bale we do is always graded by the USDA, and there's actually a sample taken from each side of each bale. So each bale has 2 samples, and both those samples go in, and every single bale gets graded. I'm not sure that's the same in every country. I know Australia maybe only does every other bale or every third bale or something like that, and it's usually private classing actually over there. But here, the USDA runs really world-class grading operation.
And where is that located?
Our office is in Florence, South Carolina.
Okay.
There's about 7 offices. Memphis is the home base. There's about 6 or 7 offices throughout from here to California.
And how often do you ship?
We're kind of out of the way for gins. A lot of times they run a truck route that'll come every day to a gin. We're actually sending ours on FedEx ground. We actually put them in bags in FedEx ground trucks, so they leave every day.
Every day, okay.
Every day.
And Judy was just echoing Eric's sentiments about the sophistication and automation of your gin there. So, and then Colleen, again, interesting that cotton seeds are M&Ms to dairy cows. And the debris also. That was one thing that I found super interesting when I visited the gin last year, was that every single sort of byproduct is used, even down to the plastic, right? I don't remember if you had spoken about that. You want to talk a little bit about that, Wes?
We can talk about that, but it's not my favorite subject. Because, a lot of times that ends up having to go overseas to be recycled. We've got some recycling that happens here in the U.S., but hopefully the processes and all will get a little bit better. But there's a place 4 miles from me that actually would use that, but there's a few little minor things about it they don't like, and their machinery's not set up for it or something. So hopefully we can start to work on some of those roadblocks down the road so we can keep that here. Because I think we can make good fiber decking boards for people to build their decks on their houses out of that stuff if we could get everybody together on the same page.
But Rosalinda, I want to talk about the cotton seed again, because I always find it very fascinating, interesting. And part of what we're trying to do here is bring some stabilization to the cotton farm, because we all know cotton prices just go up because we know weather can affect it, but also what's happening in the world, what's happening in the economy. So we have wild swings of cotton prices, and kind of talk about the relationship of cotton prices to cotton seed, and it's kind of the dance between that and the farmer and what you sell it for and how you pay the the farmer back for the ginning process. It's not a, go ahead.
Well, yeah, cotton, cotton's kind of a unique crop for a farmer because it's kind of the only crop that he grows that he really can't sell the way he harvests it. Corn, soybeans, wheat, hay even. When the farmer finishes with it, he takes it to market, straight to someone, you don't know, like an end user. But cotton, we've got cotton and seed all mixed together. It's kind of a unit. So that's the whole purpose of the gin. So that's another service that he has to, pay for, if you will, to get his product to a marketable state. And the cotton is marketable, and also the cotton seed is marketable. So kind of what we do is we'll usually end up keeping the seed and selling it to dairy farms and brokers and whatnot, and we'll credit the farmer back for whatever the seed value was. So in years and years ago, a farmer would our gin charges, let's just say it was $60. Well, the seed was worth $30. So the farmer would pay me $30 cash, and I would keep the seed to make that work. Well, we've actually ginned there for several years where we still get $60 for ginning, but the seed was worth $80. So I would actually pay the farmer $20 to gin his cotton, which is hard to explain to your banker that you're paying your customer. But I was keeping the seed, which was more valuable than the service I was providing. So that constantly flows up and down because the price of seed has really nothing to do with the price of cotton. The price of seed more so has to do with the price of corn and soybeans, other feed products that a cow would eat, kind of thing. So the farmer, it's kind of he's got just another thing to look at when he's growing cotton as to whether the seed value is going to pay for the ginning or not pay for the ginning, or maybe get even excess in the ginning. So that's another part in, Andrew's spreadsheet, I reckon, if you will, when he's figuring out what he's going to plant next year, is one of the other things that you have to kind of add into the mix.
We have a couple more questions here in the chat, but Byron has a question just regarding local production. So he says, do you know how your machines compare to those that are used in India or China, for example? Are their processes very different?
Ginning, what we do is called saw ginning, with that saw. Saw ginning is very similar throughout the world. There's a lot of differences, in the way it gets to the gin and the way it's marketed and farmers and speeds and those kind of things. But the way it's actually done is very similar. We try to clean it. We've got some machines here and some visual things that will, are like cameras and whatnot. They're taking pictures of the fiber as it's kind of going through. When we sell that cotton, I've talked about the grading process a while ago. One of the big things that I can change or affect is leaf, how trashy the cotton is. So we try to clean it as good as we need to, but not too much. Every time we clean, we take out good fiber. We're going to lose some product. So there's kind of a 3-leaf, 4-leaf. It's just kind of I'd say it's a random kind of thing, but there's very specific numbers of, of trash related to that. But the amount of trash that you saw in those that I was holding down there, that was fairly clean cotton. That might have been a 4-leaf instead of a 3-leaf, but we try to shoot for that 3 or 4 leaf, where some places, they clean it just as good as they possibly can, but they're wasting fiber. And some places don't have the machinery maybe to clean it enough. But a lot of times cotton in other countries is actually bought out of the field. So they would actually buy the module rather than buying the bale. So that's a totally different scheme of things in some other countries. But a gin stand is a gin stand is a gin stand as far as that goes. Now, my gin stands have 198 saws and they'll gin 20 bales an hour per stand. A lot of smaller, older, other countries, like the India and whatnot, they're going to be a lot smaller gins, a lot slower gin. I say small, there'll be a lot slower gin stands. Now, it might be a big corporation that has 20 of them, or 10 of them or something, small stands. But all that's pretty much the same. The only other caveat is that we do saw ginning, but the Pima cotton I was talking about a while ago, they actually do what's called roller ginning. Completely different process. and actually rolls it on a rubber roller with a stationary knife. It's a much slower, much more expensive process, but it does maintain that very long fiber length that those fibers have. There again, price of cotton's double, price of ginen's a lot higher too, but it's worth it based on those outcomes. But that's only a couple percent of the cotton in the world is actually that gin that way. But most everything is sol ginning, and it should be very similar to machinery wise.
And Rosalind, what I was going to say too, and have an opportunity to go into a lot of other gins is, and to continue what Wes is saying, the gin stand is pretty much standard wherever you go. What Wes has done is the automation of the cotton getting to the gin stand and the automation of the cotton post gin stand. Is it continues to add automation, sophistication, and it's the best I've ever seen. And so he just built around that and continues to improve around that. As I said earlier, now he's got a 3D printer down there that he's basically making parts for prototypes for other people. So it's the sophistication around the gin stand is what you really, built around rolling out gin.
That's what you see, the cotton falling out of the gin stands. And that's the center of the plant, and actually where the seed fiber separation. But there's a lot going on. Those, the cotton coming in, the dryer, all those moistures, temperatures, there's a pretty robust system that's constantly changing the temperatures and of everything, just to try to maintain the right amount of moisture. You don't want to dry it out too much, you'll break the fibers. If it's too wet, then it doesn't process as well. So there's a fine balance in there that we're trying to keep track of as well.
So Scott says, great tour. And he's curious, how many acres of production does one bale typically represent for North Carolina upland cotton?
Half an acre. Most of the farmers would like to see a 2-bale crop, meaning they would like to get 2 bales of cotton off of each acre that they farm. We will probably average around 2 bales this year. Probably our best average, and I'm talking about the entire Rolling Hills gin, production, is probably about 2.7 bales per acre. Now we've got farms, fields that will do 3-4 bales an acre, but generally speaking, around 2 bales, 2.5 bales to the acre is kind of what typical, at least this part of North Carolina. We actually, for some reason, usually do up 100 pounds better a lot of times than they do in Eastern North Carolina. I tell them our clay soils and no-till and all that kind of stuff that we do in that August day when it's 102 degrees and the sun's beaming down, our cotton is getting cooked on the top just like theirs, but theirs is bouncing off the sand and microwaving the back side of the leaf as well, and ours is hitting that growth we have down there and absorbing that into the ground a little bit better. So I think our cotton plants breathe a little easier on some of those days anyway. So we have a slightly better, probably average year over year than most places. And it's I think everything we have is non-irrigated. It's all rainfall.
Wes, and it's a good time to talk about the difference of this year's cotton harvest and ginning compared to last year. I think you're seeing, what I understand, 2 extremes, what you had last year to this year.
Polar opposites almost.
Yeah.
Last year was really good yields, our biggest year ever, over 40,000 bales. This year we're hoping for like 12,000, maybe 13,000 bales.
And why is that? What happened?
And it's not pandemic related. It's just the good old fashioned weather. The month of May. Basically, we normally plant our cotton May 1 to May 20. It's kind of our planting window. And normally people even get out there the last part of April. It'll get up into the lows at night in the 40s or maybe a little higher, and you get up to the 60s, and they'll try to get out there and maybe easing their plant a little bit. Well, it was cold at the beginning of May. May 11th, it was 38 degrees that morning. That is not the time to plant cotton. So everybody waited, well, most everybody actually, a few didn't, but most everybody waited till that warmed up. The ground needs to warm up a little bit so it'll germinate the seed. So by that point in time, here comes May 12th, is the first pretty much around us that we planted. I think that's when Andrew started planting, and a few other guys around here. And they basically planted as hard as they could for like a week, and then it rained 8 inches. And about 4 days later, they actually a few more planted a little bit more in there. It rained another 8 inches. So cotton seed sitting in the ground under mud, which is underwater, which is drowning. I mean, it needs oxygen. So all the seeds just rotted and drowned in the ground. So a lot of people, we had several that planted a lot and it died. We had some that never got it planted. But you know, it's just kind of just year over year kind of thing. This won't be our worst year ever, but it'll be the worst in a long time as far as the gin's concerned. Now farmers, you know, they have farming, you know, insurance, and they can plant other crops, and there's, you know, they have a little bit more flexibility than we do because they can grow different things, and do other things. This is a cotton gin. That's it. You know, we can't do anything with beans, corn, wheat, or anything. So, you know, just whatever the part of their crop that the farmers have lives and harvests, then, you know, then we can help them with. But it was just kind of a rough year as far as that kind of thing goes. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, at least I reckon the good part of that for me, I knew that in May. I'm sure there's some people sitting in Alabama that, you know, up until a month or so ago thought they were going to have a good crop, and then they've been hit with like 5 hurricanes in a row or something down there. So I'm sure their crop suffered. That they were thinking in August they were doing a good crop, and then they got hit with it. So, you know, we've been in the same mood all summer long because we knew it was just going to be a rough year. But we were able to plan for that kind of thing, and not make all the changes maybe we were wanting to, and postpone a few things. But it's gonna be a pretty tough year as far as things go. Because if you can imagine any manufacturing business, you're going to do 25% this year what you did last year, and that's just kind of tough to deal with.
With manufacturing comes overhead. I know that. So if you cut half your manufacturing need down, you still got the overhead to go.
Even our guys that come and help us, they were talking. They help. You know, they go help with the cherries and stuff in California. They were talking about the cherry crop wasn't good, and I think they do grapes for raisins, and that crop wasn't good. And they come to me, and I'm like, well, this isn't any better. But they usually come in October, so I told them to come on in October. So we work them 40 hours a week in October just because I wanted to keep them coming.
You're making that long-term investment. You want to be here next year.
It wasn't a great year, but we actually built them a new house to live in, which it needed, but it wasn't the year to do that. Come, you know, they looked good in February, but, you know, then come May, it was like, wow. But, you know, we were already committed, so we got it done for them. So, you know, just trying to, you know, keep everybody going and employed and keep doing the best we can.
What else have, Miss Rosalinda?
Yep. So we've got a quick question here from Jimmy. He's curious about who pays for the grading by USDA.
The gin does here. Some gins pass that on to the grower, some don't. But it actually is just, well, I mean, technically I'm the one that writes the check, but just keep in mind when you think about anything on that realm of thinking that the farmer pays for everything. You know, I pay for the gin, I pay for that, but I also charge the farmer for ginning his cotton. So that might not be a line item, but, you know, everything goes back to the farmer.
Right.
You know, really, I mean,
cost doing
you know,
business.
I don't want to put that out, but
you
know, but here it's part of our gin charges. I reckon is a way to put that. But the farmer pays for that. Farmer pays for putting it in the warehouse, usually the first month of storage in the warehouse, you know, all that kind of stuff. Once it's sold, usually the buyer, whoever buys it, will take care of the warehouse storage fees and stuff after that. But before that, the farmer, you know, pretty much pays for everything. It all rolls downhill to him, I reckon, when you look at it. But sometimes it's a line item on certain gins, but here it's just we've always paid for that. And the also there's a commodity assessment fee. North Carolina actually charges. Or actually the growers charge themselves, I reckon, for North Carolina cotton promotion. So they're able to, you know, do some research and that kind of thing. And this, I think it's like $1 a bale or something.
Okay.
And the class is a couple of dollars or something. So.
Now, is that the same as the bale that goes to the cotton ink? Because there's some money.
That's a national checkoff.
Okay.
That's a national checkoff. That's actually taken out when the cotton is sold.
Okay.
It is 1/2 of 1% of the value of the cotton plus $1 a bale.
It goes to cotton
that actually goes to Cotton Incorporated, goes to Cotton Board, and then gets to Cotton Incorporated, I think, or something. But yeah, that's basically a national organization to promote cotton, you know, U.S. cotton, you know, worldwide and here as well, and research.
Right. So we are approaching, we got about 7 minutes left, and we have a couple of questions coming from, I hope I don't pronounce this wrong, but Muget. So the questions are, some of them you actually just answered, but who will take the next step to prepare cotton into roving? The next question is, who does the carding process, if done at all? And is Pima cotton in the US? What process happens before spinning? And is cotton pulped for paper or non-woven process? Who's doing the non-woven cotton? So we'll let you start there.
Not sure about non-woven.
Right.
But the next step in the chain here, we actually have, we gin it, we put it in the warehouse. And then basically whoever buys it from the warehouse will, contact us and say they want these very specific bales. Actually, they give me serial numbers of each of the bales that they want, 90 bales on the truck or whatever it may be. And then that will end up going to the next operation is the spinning operation. And we call it spinning operation, but at the spinning operation, they make yarn. And you hand me that little thing of yarn there, but this is not what your grandmother knitted with. This is kind of a string, it's very, very fine. And there's all different kinds of this depending on what you're doing. But this is what they do. But in that process, one of the first things it goes to would be a carding machine that's going to make a sliver and then go on different things. But I want to get into next month's conversation because I think that's where you're headed there. But the next process will be the spinning process where they actually do that at. But they will, make that. I'm not sure about non-wovens how that plays. But when the bale leaves the warehouse, the gin warehouse or the warehouse that it goes to, the next place it's going to go to is going to be, made into yarn that will then go, on down the line.
And Rosalinda, what's so cool about that, and that's how we operate, is that we depend on the expertise of the cotton farmer, the ginner, the spinner, and then we make sure they communicate. So Wes has already sent the USDA fiber report to our contact at Spun Lab. And they are reviewing that report because, again, I just want to make it, in the day, we want a great t-shirt. But I don't know all the specs that they're looking for. So, and I got copied on it. This very, a lot of information on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, bunch
of numbers, which means nothing to me, but the folks at Spun Lab / Partdale, it means everything to them.
And it really doesn't mean a lot to me. And it really doesn't mean a lot to Andrew, all those numbers. Andrew knows that these numbers are okay. It means he gets paid what he wants, it doesn't get discounted. To me, I look at a couple of numbers, the leaf number. I can affect that. The color, I can't do anything in the gym that's going to change the color of the fiber or a lot of things. But leaf, I can clean it too much or not enough. So I look at the leaf number. But RD plus B, which is part of the color and the micronair and some of these other numbers in there, they mean a heck of a lot to the next guy, right? Spun Lab, it means a lot to him. Doesn't mean a lot to me or necessarily to Andrew unless it's too high or too low and we get, and the farmer gets docked. Then Andrew's going to care a lot about it if he's going to get discounted. If he's not going to get discounted and not going to get much of a premium, then those numbers don't mean a lot. And there's a lot of other numbers. And there's very little Andrew can do to affect them. As long as he does the best he can of his job, he can't, weather a lot affects a lot of those numbers and those kind of things. But there's nothing he can necessarily do different on a day-to-day basis that's going to change a lot of those numbers, except maybe for the leaves, try to make sure the leaves are off and it's dried, that kind of thing. So we're just best practices. But yeah, from the warehouse going into the next stage, all those numbers, those fiber properties mean a lot to them. From my understanding, the numbers, the bales, the totals, and even how they lay them down when they get ready to feed them into their process. All that makes a difference. Whole scientific,
I think it's so cool what we do.
And my expertise is zero about that. Eric comes to me about ginning. That's fine. I know about ginning. I can say just a little bit about the farming and a little bit about the spinning because they're on each side of me. But I don't know a lot about that. So he's going to go to another guy that's going to be able to lead him on that.
But that's the cool thing we do, Wes. It's completely transparent. I mean, I'm not like this cotton sickly going to go to a warehouse and you don't know where it's going to go to. Everybody knows everybody. Right. And we depend on the expertise of your ginning operation and hand off to the next person, which is the spinner, and let the two of y'all communicate. Because last thing I want to do is get involved with trying to say, well, this is what you need to do, or whatever. This is your business. So
And one of the questions I think last month they were asked, and I want to say something, but I didn't, but they were talking about was their third-party verification. Yeah. And I was sitting at my desk thinking, no, there's not third-party verification. It's me and you. If you get that T-shirt and you want to know the report the cotton came on, you can come to Rolling Hills Gin, rollingHillsGin.com, the address,
Yep.
drive up, and
there is a Wes Morgan right
Wes
there.
Morgan, and there's a computer that
Yeah.
tells you this is where it came from and whatnot. And here's the gin, and, the field, so all that's doable. But it is third party. It's the end user basically and the supply chain.
And that's what I love what we're doing. There's been a lot of pushback, of all this certification or different standard, whatever. And I think when you make the supply chain transparent, if I say that Wes Morgan, Rolling Hills Gin, this is your address, this is your phone number, they can come see you. That in itself, I think is better than any type of seal because they can, they can validate. They can, it's not coming to a post office box in some town. There's actually a facility here run by Wes Morgan that produces it. So I think the best thing that we can do in the times that we live in is just having a transparent supply chain. I'm not saying we're doing the best, the right, or the only, but there's no secret. Everybody knows everybody. We can take it to the farm, the gin, and all the way up the line. Everybody's together. And that'll be the exciting we've done in the past. Everybody, you'll know everybody even beyond the spinner where it's going to go to. You'll have that information. Hopefully, post-COVID, get everybody back together. It's amazing to have all those people in the room together.
This was the first tool with nobody there.
Yeah.
Nothing you're talking about halfway through. I'm like, I hope they're here. It's very different.
All right, fellas. Well, we are at the hour mark, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So thank you so much, everybody, for attending. To learn more about the 10,000 pounds project and to buy a share, visit solidstate.clothing. Solidstate.clothing. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be running a special. So everyone who buys a share will get a share certificate and a piece of cotton, actually from Andrew's, a piece of cotton from Andrew's Cotton Farm mailed to them. And we are also going to be continuing the harvest conversation over the next few months and spotlighting various members from our supply chain, as well as cotton experts from around the world. Stay tuned because next month, as you guys mentioned, we are going to be traveling to Spun Lab. That's going to be in January, and we're going to be meeting with Andy Long to learn more about cotton spinning. So I'm going to drop Solid State's information there. So you guys, please feel free to follow us on Facebook, sign up for our email list through our website to get notifications on upcoming events. Any parting words, Wes and Eric?
I just want to thank Wes for all what you do and putting yourself out there to the world to connect with. And Rosalinda and Courtney, thank you so much for stepping in today. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to Amy and her family, but y'all did a phenomenal job of pulling this thing off. And I wish everybody a great holiday, and we'll see you in South Carolina in January.
Appreciate y'all coming.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yes, the leader's talking out to space.